At my brother's wedding, his bride raised a glass and called me pathetic in front of 200 people. I was about to walk out crying. Then my 8-year-old son took the mic. What he said made the whole room gasp. My name is Claire Matthews. I'm 34 years old, and I've spent most of my life being the quiet one in the family. The one no one really listens to. The one people whisper about behind closed doors. The one who made a mistake at 25 by getting pregnant out of wedlock. But I don't regret having my son, Caleb. Not for 1 second. His father left when I told him I was pregnant. Said he wasn't ready to be a dad. I was scared, broke, and completely alone. My parents were embarrassed. My brother, Nathan, didn't say much. He just stopped inviting me to family things after a while. I guess it was easier that way for everyone. I raised Caleb on my own. I worked double shifts as a waitress, took online classes at night, and still made it home in time to help him with his homework. He never went to bed hungry, never missed a school project, and never saw me cry. Not in front of him. But behind closed doors I cried a lot. Especially when I found out Nathan was getting married. And I wasn't even told until 3 weeks before the wedding. The invitation came in the mail, plain and cold. No phone call, no, "Hey Claire, I want you there." Just a white envelope with gold print and a list of events I wasn't included in. I wasn't invited to the rehearsal dinner, or the engagement party. Just the ceremony. Just the show. The bride's name. Vanessa. She and I had never gotten along. She always looked down on me. The first time we met, she asked if I was the babysitter, because I didn't look like someone who belonged in Nathan's life. I'll never forget how she smiled while saying it, like it was a joke. Nathan laughed. I didn't. Every time I was around her, she made me feel small. Like dirt she'd stepped on but was too polite to mention. But Caleb was excited about the wedding. He kept asking what he would wear, if there would be dancing, and if he could bring a gift for Uncle Nathan. I almost didn't go. I almost made up an excuse. But I thought, no, Caleb deserves to be there. I deserve to be there. So I said yes. The weeks passed quickly. I bought a simple navy blue dress from a thrift store, and Caleb picked out a tiny suit he found online. He even practiced walking like a gentleman in front of the mirror. He was so proud. The night before the wedding I couldn't sleep. My stomach twisted with dread. I knew Vanessa would have something to say. She always did. But I promised myself, I wouldn't react. I wouldn't make a scene. I'd keep my head high, even if it meant breaking inside. The next morning I braided Caleb's hair, put on some light makeup, and we headed to the venue. It was a beautiful hall. White roses everywhere, candles lining the aisle, soft music playing in the background. Everyone looked rich, polished, perfect. Felt like a shadow. No one greeted us when we walked in. Vanessa's family looked us up and down like we didn't belong. Smiled anyway. Caleb held my hand tight. He whispered, "Mom, don't be scared. I got you." My eyes welled up. My brave little boy. We sat near the back, away from the front rows reserved for special guests. I saw my parents up front, smiling like they were royalty. They hadn't spoken to me in months. Then the music changed. Everyone stood. Vanessa walked in wearing a dress that sparkled like diamonds. She looked beautiful, perfect even. I almost believed it, until her eyes landed on me. A small smirk tugged at her lips. That same smirk I'd seen the day she told me, "Some people are just born less." The ceremony was short. Vows exchanged. Rings placed. Applause. Then came the reception. The tables were decorated like something out of a movie. Chandeliers hung above us, soft jazz played, and waiters carried plates of food I couldn't even pronounce. Caleb stared in awe. I told him to eat slow so we wouldn't look out of place. We barely got through dinner before the real show began. A man took the mic and said, "Now it's time for the bride's toast." Everyone clapped. Vanessa stood up, holding a flute of champagne. She was glowing, confident, ready. I had no idea she was about to humiliate me in front of 200 people. She raised her glass and said, I just want to thank everyone who supported us. Means so much to Nathan and me. Family is everything. Polite claps. Then she smiled wider. And to those who showed up, even when we didn't really expect them, thanks for being brave enough to come. It must be hard walking into a room full of success when you've got other priorities. People like you inspire me. Truly. It's pathetic but inspiring. Some people laughed. Most looked confused. But her eyes locked on mine, and I knew. She was talking about me. I couldn't breathe. I reached for my purse under the table. My hands were shaking. I just wanted to leave. My eyes burned. My throat tightened. But before I could stand, something happened. Caleb let go of my hand. He stood up and walked straight toward the microphone. Caleb, I whispered, trying to grab his hand. Come back. But he was already walking toward the front of the room, toward the stage, toward the mic, toward her. I felt like everything had stopped. The music, laughter, even the clinking of glasses. I could see my parents whispering to each other, eyebrows raised. Nathan leaned toward Vanessa, confused. And Vanessa, she looked annoyed. Like a bug had flown into her perfect dinner. My heart pounded so loud I could barely think. Please, God, I whispered. Don't let him say something that'll embarrass us more. But then I saw his little hands grab the microphone. And he looked so small, so serious. He stood there, in his tiny navy suit with a juice stain on the collar, blinking into the crowd like he wasn't scared at all. The room was dead silent. Then Caleb spoke. Hi, he said loud and clear. My name is Caleb. Me. That lady, he pointed to Vanessa, just called my mommy pathetic. Gasp. I wanted the floor to swallow me. But Caleb didn't stop. And I just want to say something. I heard someone chuckle nervously. Few phones came out. People were filming. Vanessa folded her arms. Her smile had vanished. Caleb looked around the room. His little voice didn't shake. Not even once. My mom works hard. She gets up every morning at 5 a.m. She makes my lunch. She walks me to school. She works 2 jobs and still comes home to help me with math. I don't think that's pathetic. He paused. My dad left. But my mom didn't. She stayed. Even when people were mean. Even when she was sad. Even when she was hungry. Someone in the back whispered, wow. He kept going. She doesn't have a big house. Or fancy shoes. But she has a big heart. Bigger than this whole room. And that's why I love her. Covered my mouth. Tears were running down my face. People were quiet. All eyes on him. On this brave little boy who refused to stay silent. And you, he pointed at Vanessa. You shouldn't make fun of her. That's not nice. My mommy says people who hurt others are really just hurting inside. So maybe you're sad. I hope you feel better one day. Few people actually clapped. I couldn't believe it. Caleb looked over at me, then back to the mic. I'm proud of my mom, he said. And I think Uncle Nathan should be too. But if he's okay with people calling his sister pathetic, then maybe he's not the uncle I thought he was. Real gasp. Then Caleb calmly walked down from the stage. And straight back to me. I was frozen. Half the room was stunned. Some people were awkwardly sipping champagne. Some just stared at me like I was someone completely new. Vanessa's face. Red. She looked like she'd been slapped. She grabbed her glass and drank it in one gulp. Nathan didn't move. His mouth was open, eyes wide. I don't even think he blinked. Caleb climbed into my lap and hugged me tight. I love you, Mommy, he whispered. Did I do okay? I kissed his forehead and nodded. You did perfect. That's when I realized, this wasn't shame. It wasn't embarrassment. It was freedom. My voice had always been too quiet. Too polite. Too don't make a scene. But Caleb, he said the truth out loud. And now nobody could unhear it. Vanessa didn't speak again for the rest of the night. The speeches were cut short. The DJ tried to bring the mood back with music, but it felt off. Awkward. Heavy. I noticed a few guests sneaking glances at me. Some smiled kindly. Others nodded. One older woman even walked over and placed a hand on my shoulder. "Your son's got a stronger spine than most grown men," she said softly. "You raised him well." I just nodded. My throat was still tight. About 20 minutes later, I saw Vanessa storm out of the reception hall with her bridesmaids trailing behind. She looked furious. Her heels clicked so loudly, I could hear them even over the music. Nathan followed her. He looked back at me. For the first time in years, he didn't look at me like I was someone beneath him. He looked ashamed. He didn't say a word. Just walked out. The rest of the evening passed in a strange blur. Caleb and I danced a little. We ate some cake. And before long, we quietly slipped out the back door, away from the mess. Away from the fake smiles. The cold shoulders. The noise. As we walked to the car, Caleb tugged at my hand. "Did I make it worse?" he asked. I crouched down in front of him. "No, baby," I said. "You didn't make it worse. You made it right." And I meant it. For the first time in my life, I wasn't going home feeling small, or broken, or invisible. I was going home with my head held high. Because of the bravest 8-year-old I'd ever known. And something told me. This wedding wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. The next morning, I woke up expecting things to feel different. And they did. But not in the way I thought. There were no calls from my parents. No message from Nathan. Just silence. But my phone buzzed non-stop. Messages from people I didn't even know. Some from distant cousins, old classmates, and even strangers from church. Apparently, someone had posted a video of Caleb's speech online. It had already been shared dozens of times. The caption read, "8-year-old defends his single mom after bride publicly shames her at wedding." I watched the video once. Then twice. There he was, my son. Standing tall, speaking truth. In front of 200 people who didn't expect him to matter. And now the whole world was listening. I was proud, yes. But also nervous. I didn't want attention. I just wanted respect. That afternoon someone knocked on our door. I opened it slowly. It was Nathan. He looked tired. Not like a newlywed. His tie was loose, and his shirt had a stain like he hadn't changed since last night. "Hey," he said, scratching his neck. "Hi," I replied. I didn't step aside. I wasn't sure I was ready. "Can I come in?" he asked. I looked back at Caleb, who was watching cartoons on the couch, then nodded. We sat at the tiny kitchen table. He looked around like it was the first time he'd noticed my world was real. I wanted to say, "I'm sorry." Those words felt heavy. Like he hadn't said them in years. Maybe never. "I didn't know Vanessa was gonna do that," he said. "She told me she was just going to thank the guests." I stared at him. "She's been saying things like that for years, Nathan. You just never cared." He flinched. "I didn't think it was that bad." I laughed. Not out of humor but disbelief. "You didn't think calling your own sister pathetic in front of everyone was that bad?" He looked down at his hands. "I guess I didn't want to rock the boat. Vanessa's always been strong-headed. And I thought, maybe you were used to it." My heart broke a little more. "Used to it," I repeated. He nodded. "I thought you were strong. That you could take it." I blinked back tears. "Being strong doesn't mean I don't feel it, Nathan. It just means I've had to pretend I don't." Silence. Then he whispered, "I think I made a mistake." I didn't answer. 'Cause honestly, I wasn't sure which mistake he meant, marrying Vanessa or losing me years ago. He finally said, "Vanessa's furious. She left our apartment this morning. Said she needed space from the embarrassment. She thinks I should have stopped Caleb from speaking." That made my chest tighten. I stood up slowly. "You know what the most embarrassing part is, Nathan? That it took an 8-year-old to say what you never had the guts to." He didn't argue. He just nodded. "I want to fix things," he said softly. "I'm not the one you need to fix them with," I replied. "You need to figure out who you married. And why you let her treat your family like garbage. He stood up, his voice shaky now. I don't think I know who she is anymore. I walked him to the door. As he stepped outside, he turned back. Caleb's a good kid. Smiled. He's a good man. Just in a small body. Then I closed the door. 2 days passed. Then one afternoon I got a phone call. It was from my mother. I hesitated. Then answered. Claire, she said, her voice colder than I remembered. Yes. I saw the video, she said. I stayed quiet. You should have controlled your son. That was not the place for him to speak. My mouth dropped open. Not the place. He was defending me from being humiliated. He embarrassed the family, she snapped. That wedding cost a fortune, and now it's all over social media. Do you even think about anyone but yourself? That was it. Something inside me finally snapped. For once, I didn't think about anyone but myself. Or maybe I thought about the one person who actually matters, my son. Claire. No, I interrupted. You've called me a burden, a failure. And now you expect me to teach my son to stay silent. I won't. You may have raised me to stay quiet, but I'm raising him to speak the truth. Even when it's uncomfortable. Even when it's messy. The line was quiet for a second. Then she said, I guess you've changed. No, Mom, I replied. I finally stopped pretending. Hung up. My hands were shaking, but my chest felt light. Like I had just pulled off a heavy coat I didn't realize I'd been wearing for years. That night, Caleb crawled into my bed. Mom. Yes, sweetheart. Did I get us in trouble? I pulled him close and wrapped my arms around him. No, baby. You got us free. He smiled. And that was all I needed to know. 3 days after the wedding, my phone rang again. It was Nathan. Can we meet? He asked. Just coffee. Please. I agreed. Not for him. For closure. We met at a small cafe near my apartment. Nothing fancy. Just booths with chipped tables and the smell of burnt toast in the air. The kind of place I liked because nobody expected you to be perfect. Nathan arrived looking different. Not in clothes but in energy. He looked like a man who'd finally started waking up. Thanks for coming, he said, sliding into the seat across from me. I sipped my tea and stayed quiet. He let out a slow breath. I talked to Vanessa, he said. Really talked. I raised an eyebrow. And she blamed everything on you, he said, rubbing his eyes. Said you planned it. Said Caleb's speech was a setup. She even said you were jealous of her wedding. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so far from the truth it almost didn't hurt anymore. And what did you say? Yes. I told her she humiliated you, he said. I told her that I saw the video and for the first time, I really listened. To you, Caleb. To all the things I've ignored. I looked at him. He wasn't making excuses anymore. She flipped out, he continued. Said I was choosing some single mother over my wife. I stared at him. You are choosing. He nodded slowly. I know. Then he looked out the window. We had a fight. Big one. I told her I couldn't stay married to someone who treats my sister like trash. And do you know what she said? What? She said, fine. Go back to your pathetic family. You'll be crawling back when you're tired of their drama. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. She packed her bags this morning, he added. Went to stay with her mom. Silence. Good, I said finally. Nathan looked surprised. That's all you have to say. Shrugged. I didn't come here for a dramatic scene. You made your choices. And now you're living with them. He leaned forward. I've been a terrible brother, he said quietly. Yes, I said. You have. He looked like he might cry. But, I added, I'm not interested in apologies anymore. I'm interested in actions. He nodded slowly. I want to make it right. You don't get to make it right in a day, Nathan, I said. You start by showing up. By being there. For Caleb. For me. For real. I will, he said, voice cracking. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something that made my breath catch. It was a photo, an old one, of the two of us as kids. Me with missing teeth. Him with crooked glasses. Standing in front of our parents' house with ice cream dripping down our arms. I found it after the wedding, he said. Made me realize how far we'd drifted. I don't want to lose you again, Claire. I took the photo gently. I couldn't speak. Something warm settled in my chest. Not forgiveness, but possibility. Later that week, something unexpected happened. Nathan showed up at Caleb's school. He waited outside the gate like one of the parents. When Caleb saw him, he blinked in surprise. "Uncle Nathan," he asked. Nathan smiled and knelt down. "I owe you an apology, buddy," he said. Caleb tilted his head. "I should have defended your mom," Nathan said. "I should have been braver." Caleb smiled a little. "You're being brave now." Nathan chuckled. "Takes a lot of courage to face an 8-year-old with better morals than most adults." Then he handed Caleb a small box. Inside was a tiny superhero cape with a C on the back. "For Caleb," Nathan said. "Because you saved the day." Caleb grinned so wide I thought his cheeks might pop. From a few feet away I watched. My arms crossed. My heart soft. Nathan stood and walked over to me. "I know it's not enough," he said. "But I'll keep showing up." "You better," I said. "Or he'll replace you with a better uncle from the superhero store." We both laughed. For the first time in years, it didn't feel fake. That night I got a message from Vanessa. Just one line. "You'll always be nothing to me. Enjoy your pity party." I stared at it, then deleted it. Because she didn't matter anymore. What mattered was Caleb sleeping peacefully in his room. What mattered was knowing I didn't let hate win. What mattered was healing, even if it came slowly. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving. I was beginning to feel free. 2 weeks passed. No more messages from Vanessa. No more nasty whispers from my mother. Just silence. And in that silence, something beautiful started to grow. Me. I no longer walked with my head down. I no longer avoided mirrors or rooms full of people who made me feel small. I had seen the worst of them and survived. And now I had nothing left to fear. One afternoon, while Caleb was coloring in the living room, I got a letter in the mail. From my parents. It wasn't long. Just a card with stiff handwriting. "We saw the video again. Maybe we judged too quickly. Maybe you're stronger than we thought." No apology. No warmth. Just maybe. I placed the card in a drawer. Not because it mattered, but because I needed the reminder. That the same people who once made me feel worthless were now forced to watch me rise. Nathan, on the other hand, kept showing up. He invited Caleb to a father-son event at his office. He helped fix a leaking pipe in my kitchen. He sent me a care package with hot tea and warm socks when I said I was feeling tired. He wasn't perfect, but he was trying. And sometimes that's enough. One Saturday morning I got a message from someone I didn't expect. Vanessa's maid of honor. Her name was Elise. She sent a voice note. "Claire, I just wanted to say you didn't deserve what happened at the wedding." Vanessa planned that toast. She told us ahead of time that she was going to put you in your place. I thought it was just nerves or drama, but watching that video now. Feel sick. You're incredible. And your son, wow. If I ever have a kid, I hope they're half as brave as Caleb. I stared at my phone for a long time. Not because I needed her words, but because I realized something. The people who tried to break me couldn't. Instead, they exposed themselves. Their cruelty, their weakness, their fake smiles. The video of Caleb's speech had now been shared over 100,000 times. A woman from a parenting magazine reached out asking if they could interview me about raising confident kids. Said no. Because I wasn't chasing fame. My quiet revenge wasn't about attention. It was about peace. And I finally had it. One afternoon, Caleb and I went to a small park nearby. Just the two of us. No noise. No cameras. No drama. We sat on a bench eating ice cream. The sun was warm. He had chocolate on his nose. Mom. Yes, baby. Did I change our lives? I looked at him. My eyes watered. Yes, I whispered. You reminded me I'm allowed to be proud. You made me brave again. He smiled. Then I'm glad she was mean. I laughed. Why? Because if she wasn't, I wouldn't have used the mic. And then you'd still be sad. I pulled him close. No. Even without the mic, I was already proud of you. But that moment, that showed the world what I already knew. He looked up at me. What? That you're my hero. His arms wrapped around my waist. And just like that, the pain from years ago didn't matter anymore. Sometimes revenge doesn't come with slamming doors or loud fights. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is rising quietly, with dignity, with grace, with people wondering how you're still standing when they did everything to tear you down. Vanessa lost her marriage. My parents lost my silence. But I found my voice. And my son. He became the reason they'll never forget the woman they once called pathetic. 'Cause now they don't just see me. They respect me. Even if they never say it out loud. And I don't need their approval anymore. I never did.